The silver ships came down from space like shooting stars, their metal sides shining bright against the broken world below. Commander Thetsville looked at Earth through his ship's computers, seeing the small groups of humans living in what used to be big cities. "Just another weak planet," he said to the alien soldier next to him. "Turn on the fear machines. Their animals will kill them for us." Far below in the ruins of Old Seoul, Dr. Kim Jae-won sat in his underground lab, watching his computer screens. The 34-year-old scientist had been studying strange things left over from the last big war that almost killed all humans 50 years ago. They called it Project Genesis. When he saw the alien ships on his screens, he felt scared but not surprised. He had been waiting for something like this. Jae-won remembered the stories his grandfather told him about the war, how humans had changed animals to make them smarter and stronger, how they taught dogs to fight like soldiers and made whales that could talk to submarines. Most people thought those stories were just dreams, but Jae-won knew better. He had found the proof buried deep in old computer files. The alien ships spread out across the sky above every country on Earth. Inside each ship, strange machines started to work. The Vorthok had used these fear machines on 100 other planets. The machines sent out invisible waves that made animals go crazy with terror. Then the animals would attack the people who lived on the planet. It always worked the same way. But Earth was different. In the forests near New Busan, a man named Baek Minho was camping with his pack of wolves. Minho was not like other people. During the old war, his family had been chosen to work with the enhanced wolves. The wolves were bigger and smarter than normal wolves, and they could understand human words. When the war ended, most people forgot about the enhanced animals, but some families kept taking care of them. When the alien fear waves hit the forest, Minho felt something touch his mind, like cold fingers. The feeling tried to make him afraid, but instead he felt something else, recognition. The wolves around him stopped moving, and their eyes began to glow with a soft blue light. Minho gasped. He had seen that glow before in old war videos his grandfather showed him. "No," he whispered. "They woke you up." The wolves looked at him with intelligence that had been sleeping for 50 years. They remembered everything: how to fight, how to work together, how to protect humans. The alien machines had tried to make them afraid, but instead, they had turned on old programs hidden deep in their genes, far away in the Pacific Ocean. Marine scientist Lee Soo-jin was working on her floating research station. She studied whales and dolphins, trying to understand how they talked to each other. When the alien ships appeared, she thought her work was over. But then something amazing happened. The whale pods around her station began to sing. But these were not normal whale songs. They sang in perfect patterns with numbers and codes that Soo-jin recognized from her studies of old military files. The whales were using communication systems that humans had taught them during the war, systems that should have been forgotten long ago. Soo-jin grabbed her underwater microphone and listened carefully. The whales were not just singing random songs. They were sending messages to other whales across the ocean. Messages about the alien ships. Messages about fighting back. "This is impossible," she said to herself. But as she watched, dolphins began jumping out of the water in formation, like soldiers marching. Their movements were too organized, too planned. These were not normal sea animals anymore. All across Earth, the same thing was happening. In Africa, elephants that had been used as living tanks during the war began to remember their training. In the Amazon jungle, monkeys with enhanced brains started using tools like human engineers. In Australia, dingo packs began moving like special forces units. The Vorthok commander watched his computer screens with growing worry. His fear machines were working, but not the way they should. Instead of making animals attack humans, the machines seemed to be making the animals smarter and more organized. "Sir," said his science officer, "something is wrong. The animals are not acting like animals. They are acting like soldiers. Back in his underground lab, Dr. Kim Jae-won watched data coming in from sensors all over the world. His computers showed animal behavior that should not exist. Wolves working together like military units. Birds flying in patterns that looked like Air Force formations. Even insects were moving in ways that seemed planned and organized. Jae-won smiled for the first time in years. He understood what was happening. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They thought Earth was just another primitive planet with dumb animals. But Earth's animals had been changed by war. They had been taught to fight alongside humans, not against them. "You picked the wrong planet," Jae-won said, looking up at the ceiling as if he could see the alien ships above. "Our animals remember how to be monsters, but they remember who the real enemy is." The war for Earth was about to begin, but it would not be the war the aliens expected. The changes spread across Earth like fire jumping from tree to tree. In hidden labs under the city of Tokyo, scientist Park Hyun-woo stared at his computer screens with wide eyes. The numbers and charts showed something that should not be possible. Animals that had looked normal for 50 years were changing back into something else. "Look at this," he said to his friend Dr. Choi Minji, pointing at the screen. "The brain paths are fixing themselves. The animals are not just remembering old things. They are becoming what we made them again." Minji looked at the data and felt cold inside. During the Great War, humans had changed animals by putting new genes inside them. They made the animals smarter and stronger. When the war ended, everyone thought those changes had died out. But they were wrong. The changes had just been sleeping, waiting, far away in the hot desert of Australia. A man named Yoon Tae-young sat very still as wild dogs called dingoes surrounded him. But these dingoes were not acting like wild animals. They moved like soldiers, each one knowing exactly where to stand. Tae-young had been a soldier in the old war. He had worked with enhanced dingoes before, training them to fight alongside human troops. "I know you," he whispered to the pack leader. The dingo tilted its head and made a soft sound. Not a bark or a growl, but something that sounded almost like words. The genetic programming that made these animals loyal to human commanders was turning back on after 50 years of sleep. Taeyang slowly reached into his backpack and pulled out an old whistle. He had not used it since the war ended. When he blew it, the dingoes immediately formed a perfect line, like soldiers standing at attention. They remembered the commands, even though they had never been taught them. High above Earth, the alien commander Thexfell looked at reports from his ships with growing anger and fear. His fear machines were supposed to make animals go crazy and attack humans. Instead, the animals were getting more organized and smarter. "This makes no sense," he said to his officers. "Animals should be running wild by now. Instead, they are working together like an army." On the alien ship's main screen, they watched video feeds from Earth. In the Amazon jungle, a woman scientist named Jung Houn was filming chimpanzees doing impossible things. The chimps were using sticks and rocks to build complex structures, like human engineers building bridges. Their hands moved with perfect skill, as if they had been doing this work for years. But the most frightening thing was happening in the forests of Europe. Ravens, the big black birds, were flying in patterns that covered whole countries. They called to each other with sounds that seemed to carry messages. The aliens' computers tried to understand the bird calls and found something terrifying. The calls contained coded information, like military radio messages. The ravens were talking to each other across thousands of miles, sharing information about alien ship positions and human survivor locations. They had become a living communication network that covered continents. The first alien soldiers to die were in a patrol near the ruins of London. They had landed, expecting to find scared humans hiding from crazy animals. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by wolves that moved like special forces soldiers, ravens that attacked from above in perfect formation, and even swarms of insects that seemed to know exactly where to strike. The aliens fought back with their advanced weapons, but it did not help. Every animal they killed was immediately replaced by two more. The creatures worked together in ways that should have been impossible. Wolves coordinated with birds, birds guided insects, and insects found weak spots in alien armor. When the patrol's emergency signal stopped transmitting, Commander Vexvel felt something he had never experienced before. His hands shook as he read the final report. Not one alien soldier had survived. "Commander," said his science officer, a young alien whose voice trembled with fear, "we have analyzed the brainwaves from the planet's animals. The fear weapons did not make them afraid. Instead, they turned on old genetic programs that humans put inside them during their war." Vexvel stared at the data. Every animal on Earth carried hidden genetic modifications. Modifications that made them smarter, stronger, and loyal to humans. The aliens had accidentally awakened an entire planet of enhanced creatures that had been trained for war. "These are not animals," the science officer continued. "They are biological weapons that have been sleeping for 50 years, and now they remember what they were made to do." For the first time in his long military career, Commander Vexvel understood what fear felt like. His empire had conquered 100 worlds by turning animals against their masters. But Earth was different. On Earth, the animals were not pets or wild creatures. They were soldiers who had been waiting 50 years for their next war, and that war had just begun. Dr. Kim Jae-won's hands moved fast across his computer keyboard as information poured in from all over the world. Numbers and charts filled his screens, showing him something that made his heart race with both fear and wonder. The genetic changes from the old war had never really gone away. They had just been sleeping, like seeds waiting for rain. "I need to tell everyone about this," he said to himself, then pressed a button to talk to the other survivors hiding in bunkers around the world. The emergency council meeting happened through old radio systems. Leaders from different countries gathered in underground shelters, their voices crackling through speakers. Jae-won looked at the faces on his screen, tired people who had been fighting just to stay alive. "Listen carefully," Jae-won began. "The aliens made a huge mistake. When they used their fear machines on our planet, they woke up something from 50 years ago. Every animal that was part of Project Genesis is remembering what humans taught them during the war." From the Korean border, Commander Yoon Taeyong's voice came through the radio. He sounded amazed and a little scared. "Dr. Jawan is right. The dingo pack I'm with, they're not just obeying my commands. They're thinking ahead, knowing what I want before I even decide. They remember battle plans from wars that happened before they were even born." Taeyong paused, watching the dingoes around his camp. "It's like the genetic memories passed down from their parents and grandparents." The aliens didn't just wake up individual animals. They woke up 50 years of military knowledge stored in animal DNA. Far out in the Pacific Ocean, marine scientist Lee Soo-jin was having the most incredible experience of her life. A group of dolphins had approached her research boat, but these were not ordinary dolphins. They were bigger, smarter, and they seemed to understand exactly who she was. Using simple hand signals and listening to their sonar clicks, Soo-jin slowly realized these dolphins remembered the old naval programs. Their ancestors had worked with human submarines during the war, helping to find enemy ships and guide missiles to targets. "The dolphins still know the signals," Soo-jin reported over her radio. "They're showing me sonar patterns that match old military codes. They want to help fight the aliens, just like their grandparents helped fight in the war." But the most amazing changes were happening on land. In Africa, elephants were doing things that should have been impossible. Dr. Park Hyun-woo watched satellite footage of elephant herds working together to build walls and defensive structures around human villages. The elephants used their trunks like construction tools, moving logs and rocks with perfect precision. "These elephants are thinking like military engineers," Park reported to the council. "They're not just protecting the humans. They're building fortresses using tactics from old war manuals. Even more frightening for the aliens were the insects. Swarms of bees, ants, and other bugs were moving in patterns that showed group intelligence and military planning. They would attack alien patrols in waves, each wave targeting specific weak points in alien armor and equipment. The insects are not acting on instinct anymore, Park explained, his voice full of wonder. They're making battle plans. They scout the enemy, find weaknesses, then coordinate attacks with other species. The real shock came when human resistance fighters discovered they could communicate across long distances without radios. Underground networks of mushrooms and tree roots were carrying messages between different resistance groups. The fungi acted like a natural internet, letting humans in one forest talk to humans hundreds of miles away. Trees themselves became part of the defense network. Their root systems could detect when aliens walked nearby, and they would send warnings through the underground network. Some trees even moved their branches to hide human movements or block alien vehicles. Commander Thexfell stood in his command ship, staring at battle reports that made no sense. His soldiers were not just losing fights, they were being completely outsmarted by what his computers called primitive life forms. "Sir," said his tactical officer, "our assault team sent to capture the human settlement near Berlin has been destroyed. The attack came from wolves, birds, bears, and even the trees themselves. They worked together like a professional army." Another officer added, "The same thing happened in Brazil, Japan, and Australia. Every time our forces try to attack humans, the entire ecosystem fights back. It's like the whole planet is one giant military unit." That spell felt his confidence. Crumbling, his empire had conquered worlds across the galaxy using the same simple strategy: turn the animals against their masters, then move in to clean up. But Earth was different. On Earth, the animals were already soldiers. They had been waiting 50 years for a new war. What kind of species turns their entire planet into a weapon? Dexville whispered, looking at Earth through his ship's windows. The answer was becoming clear. Humans had not just survived their worst war, they had learned from it. They had created something no other species in the galaxy had ever imagined. A world where every living thing could fight as one army, and that army was just getting started. The sun was just coming up when the alien ships came down over the broken city of Inch. The big gray ships looked like metal clouds as they landed, ready to build their first base on Earth. But the aliens had no idea what was waiting for them. Demander Yoon Taeyong crouched behind some old concrete blocks with his pack of enhanced wolves. But this was not the small group he had started with. Word had spread through the animal networks, and wolves from all over Korea had come to join the fight. There were now over 50 wolves with him, all connected by the genetic modifications that let them share thoughts across long distances. "Ready," Taeyong whispered, and every wolf in the pack knew what he meant, even the ones hiding miles away. Above them, ravens flew in perfect formations like military jets. These were not ordinary birds. Their enhanced brains could process information, like computers, watching the alien ships and sending coded messages to other animals across the country. When they cawed, they were not just making noise. They were giving detailed reports about alien positions and weapons. The first alien soldiers stepped out of their ships, expecting to find a quiet place to set up their base. Instead, they found themselves in the middle of a carefully planned ambush. Wolves attacked from 3 directions, while ravens dove from above, going straight for the aliens' communication equipment. The aliens fired their weapons, but the animals moved too fast and knew exactly where to strike. Back in Seoul, Dr. Choi Minji watched the battle through hidden cameras. She saw her old research subjects, chimpanzees that had once lived in her lab, moving like professional saboteurs. The chimps had somehow learned to identify weak points in alien technology. They used tools to disable alien weapons and vehicles with surgical precision. They remember more than just fighting. Minji said in amazement. They remember engineering. They know how machines work. One chimp used a metal rod to short-circuit an alien power generator, while another threw rocks, with perfect accuracy, to break communication dishes. They worked as a team, each chimp knowing exactly what the others would do. But the real surprise came from the ocean. Marine biologist Li Sujin found herself in the middle of the largest naval operation in history, except most of the Navy was not human. Pods of dolphins surrounded the alien ships in the water, using their sonar to see through alien stealth technology. The dolphins can see the hidden ships, Sujin reported over her radio. Their sonar goes right through the alien camouflage. Whales sang across the Pacific, their songs carrying coded messages that coordinated attacks from thousands of miles away. Human submarines received targeting information from whale songs, allowing them to hit alien ships that they could not even see on their own sensors. The aliens found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once. In space, their science officer, Kethfer, stared at reports that made no sense. "Commander," he said, his voice shaking, "we are not fighting just the humans. We are fighting their entire planet. The trees are like radar systems, detecting our movements. Insects scout our positions and report back. Every predator on the planet has become a soldier." The reports kept coming in. In the Amazon jungle, hidden creatures were emerging from deep in the forest. Enhanced jaguars moved like special forces units, their tactical intelligence making them perfect hunters of alien patrols. Snakes with modified venom could melt through alien armor like acid. Even small birds had been enhanced to operate human weapons and equipment. Dr. Jung Haun, watching from her research station, documented species that had been hidden since the end of Project Genesis. They kept some animals secret, she realized. The most dangerous ones were hidden away, waiting. The turning point came when Dr. Kim Jae-won made an incredible discovery in his soul bunker. He found that the planet's fungal networks, the underground mushroom systems that connected forests, could be used to fight back against the alien psychic weapons. "The mushrooms can reverse the alien signals," he announced over the emergency radio network. "The whole planet can become one giant counterweapon." Soon, trees and plants across Earth began to emit frequencies that jammed alien communications. Alien ships lost contact with each other. Their navigation systems failed. They could not coordinate their attacks, or even find their way back to their motherships. Commander Vexville watched his invasion fleet fall apart. His ships crashed into each other because their navigation was jammed. His ground forces were cut off, and being systematically destroyed by coordinated attacks from every type of Earth. "Creature, this is impossible," he said, watching his tactical displays show nothing but failure. "How can animals be this organized?" His aide brought him the final casualty reports. Over half his invasion force was gone, destroyed not by human technology, but by an integrated planetary defense system that included every living thing on Earth. "Sir," the aide said quietly, "we need to retreat. This planet, it's not what we thought. It's not a primitive world with weak animals. It's a fortress. Every creature here is a weapon." For the first time in 1,000 years of conquest, Commander Vexville gave the order that no Vorthok commander had ever given. "All ships, retreat. Signal the home fleet. This world is too dangerous to conquer." As the alien ships fled into space, Earth's enhanced creatures watched them go, ready to defend their world against any threat that might return. 6 months had passed since the alien ships fled from Earth's sky. Dr. Kim Jae-won stood in his new research center in Seoul, watching something that would have seemed impossible before the war. Through the big windows, he could see enhanced wolves playing with human children in the courtyard outside. The wolves were gentle and careful, using their intelligence to make sure the children stayed safe. "Everything has changed," Jae-won said, to the group of scientists and leaders gathered in his office. "The genetic changes in our animals are permanent now. but they're not the same as they were during the old war. The alien interference did something new. Our animals are not weapons anymore. They are true partners. He pointed to the courtyard, where a large wolf was helping a little girl who had fallen down. The wolf gently picked up her dropped toy and nudged her back toward the other children. That wolf could kill an alien soldier in seconds, but with human children, it becomes the gentlest creature on Earth. Commander Yoon, Taeyong's voice came through the communication system from the Korean mountains. Dr. Jae-won is right. My wolf pack has grown to over 100 members now, but they don't follow me because they have to. They choose to work with me because they want to. Some wolves have even left to find other human companions. They make their own choices now. The changes were happening everywhere in the Pacific Ocean. Marine biologist Lee Soo-jin had built the first research station where humans and dolphins worked together as equals. The dolphins still had all their military abilities they could find hidden, objects with their sonar and coordinate complex operations, but now they used these skills to explore the deep ocean and discover new things about their world. The dolphins are teaching us things we never knew about the ocean, Soo-jin reported over the radio. They show us underwater caves and help us study sea life. They remember how to fight, but they prefer to explore and learn. Dr. Park Hyun-woo in Tokyo had discovered something even more amazing. The entire planet had developed a kind of shared intelligence, not like a hive mind where everyone thought the same thing, but more like a huge network where every species could communicate when they needed to. When there's danger, every animal on Earth can work together, Park explained. But when there's no threat, they live their own lives, make their own choices. It's like the planet has become one big family that can unite when necessary. The most surprising change was in the children. Dr. Choi Minji had been studying kids who grew up with the enhanced animals after the war. These children were different from older generations. They understood animals in ways that seemed almost magical. The children don't see humans as separate from animals, Minji reported. To them, wolves and dolphins and birds are just different types of people. They play together, learn together, and solve problems together. These kids think like a team that includes every species on Earth. A 10-year-old girl named Kim Sora demonstrated this during one of Minji's tests. When given a puzzle that required multiple steps, Sora immediately turned to her wolf companion and a raven that lived at the research center. The three of them worked together, each using their different abilities to solve the problem faster than any human could do alone. They don't think of it as unusual, Minji observed. To them, this is just how the world works. The effects reached far beyond Earth. Other alien civilizations across the galaxy had heard about what happened to the Vorthok invasion. The message spreading through space was clear. Earth was not a primitive planet that could be easily conquered. It was a fortress world where every living thing was a potential defender. Dr. Jung Hoon, now studying the enhanced creatures in the Amazon, sent a final report that was transmitted to human colonies throughout the galaxy. Her message was simple, but powerful. We survived our worst war not by becoming better killers, but by learning to work together. The aliens thought they could turn our world against us, but instead they reminded us that we are all part of the same family. We turned our weapons into friends, our soldiers into teachers, and our planet into a home that everyone can defend. As Earth continued to change and grow, humanity found itself in a position no other species in the galaxy had ever experienced. They were not alone on their planet. They were part of a community that included every creature that lived there. The alien attack had been meant to destroy human civilization by turning their animals against them. Instead, it had created something new, a world where every species remembered the pain of war, but had chosen to build something beautiful from those memories. Earth had become more than a planet. It had become a symbol that cooperation was stronger than conquest, that love was more powerful than fear, and that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you can become the foundation for the best thing you ever build. The monsters of Earth had remembered how to love, and that love had made them stronger than any weapon in the galaxy.